Hello, everyone, and welcome to Dream Big with Noah St. John. I'm your host, Noah St. John, author of the Book of Affirmations and founder of SuccessClinic.com. And I'm so thrilled and excited to welcome you to today's program because I'm honored and privileged to have my good friend and very, very successful guy, John Assaraf, here with us. So, John, welcome to the program.
Hey, Noah, great to be on with you.
Fantastic. Awesome. Well, let me just tell all of you folks, I know John Assaraf really needs no introduction, but for the three of you out there who don't know this man, I will go ahead and do it anyway. He's one of the leading behavioral and mindset experts in the world, and he has a unique ability to help people release the mental obstacles that prevent them from achieving their very best at work, life, and business. Now, John has written 2 New York Times best-selling books. He's appeared on Larry King Live 8 times, and, of course, has been featured in the blockbuster hit movie The Secret. Now, John has built 5 multi-million-dollar business companies, including Remax of Indiana, to over 1,500 salespeople and $4.5 billion, that's a B, billion in sales. And today, John is the CEO of Praxis Now, which develops some of the most advanced brain retraining programs in the world. So we're absolutely thrilled to welcome John Assaraf. John, welcome again.
Hey there. I hope my mom listened to that.
I'm sure she will. She'll be proud, very proud. So, John, I know there's a lot of folks who, have seen you on Larry King and in The Secret and all that stuff. And, it was just such a fascinating story, yours is. So I wonder if you could tell us basically about, your background. How did you get started in business and get started, doing all these amazing things that you've done?
Well, I think everybody's got to get a start somewhere. And unfortunately, my start when I was a lot younger was on the wrong train and on the right track, going in the wrong direction. And fortunately, when I was somewhere around 19, I had a wonderful mentor who saw a lot of potential in me and really started to guide me on the power of my own thoughts, the power of retraining my brain, the power of learning the right strategies and tactics and what those were and how to apply them to achieve results in my life. And he really helped me, what I call is integrate the outer game with the inner game. And he was the first mentor I had, and he was a real estate, magnate by any stretch of the imagination, with real estate offices, with real estate all over Toronto, Canada, making millions and millions of dollars a month. And so I had a really wonderful opportunity to learn from somebody who was really kind and smart, and put me on the right train, on the right track, and moved me in the right direction. And that's why, today I devote my life to really studying the inner game of what does it really take to achieve more wealth, more health, more fulfillment, more success in somebody's life. And that's probably why you and I get along so great, because I know you do the same.
It is. It's a nice combination. It really is awesome. Well, so now you talked about having that mentor at a very young age. How important is that? I mean, for all of us, to have that kind of mentorship. How important is just this component of mentorship, would you say?
Well, if you think about the human species, there are schools we go to learn the theoretical stuff, but then there's the practical application of information and strategies and knowledge. And it's really in the real world that we learn what's good, what isn't, what works, what doesn't. And the benefit of having a mentor or 2 or 3 or 10 is that not only can you learn the secret combinations that they've developed, but more importantly, you can learn what they did that didn't work, so you can save yourself the time, the money, the effort, the pain, and the anguish of what we're all trying to stay away from is more pain and more problems. And so having a mentor who's already done it once or twice or 5 times, I think is one of the smartest ways for anybody to get from A to B, from B to C faster and easier than ever. And by the time we're in our mid-20s, that's when the human brain really is really online totally, meaning the frontal lobes are developed and we can make really good decisions for ourselves. But up until that time, most human beings haven't developed the decision-making ability, nor do they have the experience to know what to do with confidence and certainty, whereas somebody with the wisdom and the experience can make decisions. Like, if you took a musician or an athlete, or you took a chess player, they could play the music, they could play, the sport, or they could play chess anywhere in the world if you woke them up out of a dead sleep, because they have the experience and they have, the knowledge and the wisdom to back it up. And if you take somebody who's new, well, guess what? They'd be afraid, they wouldn't know what to do, they'd be under pressure. And so having a mentor in a roundabout way, it allows you to really shortcut the amount of time that it takes and the learning curve that it takes to get the results that you want.
Okay, I totally agree with you. Now, I'm just going back to your experience for a moment. Now, you had were working with this mentor, again at that young age, and then so you got into real estate,
Yeah.
and then so how did you build big companies? You get 5 multi-million-dollar companies. I mean, how did all that happen?
Well, if we're looking at business as a game, if you think about every part of your life, health, wealth, relationships, finances, business, they're all games. And every game that we're playing, we have the opportunity to either play it at the kindergarten level, the grade school level, the high school level, the college level, or the pro level. And so every game has a different level. And no differently than a Rubik's Cube, there's a 2x2 Rubik's Cube that has a certain number of ways that you can move it. Then there's 3x3 and 4x4 and 5x5 and 6x6 and 7x7 and 8x8 Rubik's Cubes. The more sophisticated the cube is, or the more sophisticated the game is, the higher the level that you want to play determines the level of knowledge, expertise, strategies, and tactics that you need to learn or that you need to have on your team to help you achieve that. So I was really fortunate that in the game of business, my first mentor was, a multimillionaire. In the game of business going forward, when I was 26, I had some new mentors who were worth hundreds of millions of dollars. So they were able to teach me a higher level of sophistication of strategies and tactics and growing companies, from startup to as many as 1,500 salespeople and hundreds of other employees. And so they were able to look at the game differently than, my other mentor was. And if you wanted to go to the next level of the game, you've got to find the individuals or it's very hard to find it in manuals, even though it exists. The difference between manuals and practical application is very, very different. And so what I found for myself is in business specifically, or if you want to earn money, there are fundamentals that work whether you're in San Diego, where I am at my home right now, or whether you're in China, or whether you're in Egypt, or whether you're in South America. It makes no difference. The fundamentals are the fundamentals. And then there are the more sophisticated building blocks that you can use. It's the same for your health. It's the same for your relationship. It's the same for money. It's the same for business. And so I just happen to believe that business can be the royal road to financial freedom. That's what I was taught. And then I was taught that, from the money you make in business, then you can leverage it in real estate, or in the stock market, or in commodities, or in a variety of different other avenues that make up the game of commerce. And so the first thing was to get really good at one thing, and then to leverage that one thing into multiple sources of income. And so I learned how to become really good at building companies. And that was how I did it.
That's awesome. Now, now I know there's some folks that are watching. We've got, of course, entrepreneurs, business owners, people who maybe, want to transition from having that job to owning their own business and so forth. Sure. So, some people might be saying, well, that's great, John. You had these mentors, but, I didn't have a mentor. Maybe I'm 30 or 40 or 50 years old, and, I wasn't fortunate enough to have a mentor. So what would you say to somebody like that?
Now is a really good time to start. What's interesting is I had two types of mentors when I was younger. And I still have the same types of mentors today. So the types of mentors I have, some of them come in the form of books. Some of them come in the form of CDs. Some of them come in the form of going to their seminars and watching them, like we are doing right now. Some of them come in the form of me hiring them to work with me one-on-one. So in every area of my life, for example, I have different mentors. In my health team, I have my primary doctor. I have my nutritionist. I've got my workout trainer. I've got different people who mentor me because what they study, learn, do every single day is not what I have time to do or what my expertise is. And so I borrow their knowledge and expertise, in small chunks of time by learning from them in a consistent, repetitious way so that I, through the study, through the application, can become more every single day in the field that I want to get better at. So, for example, this morning, prior to being on this interview, my trainer was here and, she's here every morning, first thing in the morning. I could figure out what to do, but I don't want to. I want somebody who's studying it and doing it 10, 12 hours a day to just come in and tell me, here's exactly what you're doing today and tomorrow and next week and the week after. And by following her recipe that's proven, I could leapfrog many, many steps ahead of where I would be if I had to learn it, if I had to test it, if I had to try it out and then figure out what works. And so I've found in my personal life that there was one thing that I learned 31 years ago. And it was one of the first lessons my mentor gave me. And the first lesson was hire people who play at things you have to work at. Hire people who play at things you have to work at. And ever since he taught me why to hire or barter or trade or defer payment to those people, I really started to just do what I do really, really well. And then I hire as many people as I can to help me with the things that are hard for me.
That's so brilliant, John, because so many entrepreneurs, as you know, that's one of the things they have a lot of trouble with, which is that delegating or outsourcing, if you want. And, why do you think so many entrepreneurs really have trouble with that very thing that you're talking about?
Well, I think we have a self-esteem issue. And the self-esteem issue is around, thinking that we have to do it ourselves. And if we do it ourselves and we show how smart we are and we show how much, we are valued and how worthy we are. And one of the things that I found out a long time ago was that there are only a certain number of things that every person is really, really good at. It's usually the things that we play at, the things that are easy for us. Most people think that if it's easy, then they shouldn't be doing more of it, that things should be hard. And the truth is you want to do more of what's easy for you, and you want to do less of what's hard for you. And so by having people around you that can help you with your thinking, with your strategies, with your tactics, with your implementation, what you actually show yourself is that you are worthy of it, you are smart, and that you can get things done. And I can tell you that the work that I do isn't just for entrepreneurs. The work that I do is, we have employees, and I'll share a story with you about this gal, Sarah, who was 26 years old, that came to one of our events, but she wanted to make more money, for example. And she was making about $55,000 a year as a receptionist for a law firm. And she was making the top pay grade that she could make as a receptionist for that law firm. And she was like, I'm stuck. I don't know what to do. I said, well, how good do you think you are? She said, well, I think I'm really very, very good. I'm getting, great reviews from the legal partners. Clients say that I'm doing a great job and I love what I do. And so I said to her, well, what you need is not, to make more money in the job that you're doing. What you need is to now take that knowledge that you have of how you became so good, and you could take that and now teach other receptionists what you do and how you do it. So she put a flyer together, and she just went in the building that she worked in to the other legal firms. And she said, hey, I'm going to do a seminar, okay, in let's say 30 days from now. And I'm going to charge just $250 to train your receptionist to be an amazing receptionist. And the first seminar she did, she made an extra $2,500. And then she kept doing it every 30 days and started to put flyers out in the different buildings where the lawyers were. And within 6 months, she had replaced her $50,000 a year income to the point within 12 months, she was making $250,000 teaching receptionists how to be amazing receptionists for law firms.
Wow.
Same knowledge, same information, applied differently. What changed?
Wow.
What changed was her thinking. What changed was her strategies, and what changed was her behavior.
Wow.
And when you get somebody to change your thinking, your strategies, and your behavior, you can actually switch from making $50,000, $250,000 a year. And it reminds me of the bar of iron story. And if you take a bar of iron, just like a gold bar, but a bar of iron, you can use it as a paperweight to keep papers on your table, nice and neat. Well, that's worth about $5. If you take that same bar of iron, you make the little screwdrivers to screw the little screws in glasses, that same bar of iron is now worth $500. If you take that same bar of iron, you make the little springs that go into fine watches, now that's worth $5,000. What's the difference? The difference is a shift in how you use it. And so my mentors first taught me how to think differently, and they taught me how to strategize differently. Then they taught me how to implement what I had learned, and that was really the deciding factor of how you really make the leap and the change.
That is awesome. Wonderful. Wow. I love that story. Now, I want to just sort of transition now because you've been doing a lot of transitioning. So you built these businesses and, I mean, you had all this success. So what brought you into the study of the brain and what you're doing now with Praxis Now? So how did that all come about?
Well, because I had so many employees and salespeople, I've always been in personal growth and personal development. And so I was always reading and going to seminars and looking to advance my own career. And I was wondering, why is it that, I give the books, the coaches, at the time, the cassette tapes, now it's obviously CDs and DVDs. How come some people, gather the information and get motivated, but don't take action, and other people get motivated and take action? So I got really fascinated with what was happening inside the brain. And what I quickly discovered was that there's a part of the brain that gathers information. There's another part of the brain that's responsible for behavior, for taking action. There are beliefs that people develop that are nothing more than patterns in the brain. And our beliefs, what we believe to be true about what's possible, what we believe to be true about what we're worth, what we believe to be true about what we're capable of or not, or what we deserve or don't, or whether we're worthy or not, really determines a lot of our behaviors. In addition to the beliefs that are patterns in the brain, we also know that habits are nothing more than patterns that have been reinforced over time. And so if you want to have a change in any result, you have to start with changing the habits and the beliefs. And those are patterns in the brain that you need to change. And so the latest brain research has really started to show us that using a variety of different methodologies, we can actually create new beliefs. We can create new habits. And when we learn to create new beliefs and habits, and we learn in addition to that what we should do, the right strategies, that's like having the combination to a safe in the right order. And so when you take the beliefs, the habits, and the right strategies, and you put them together, you can have what I call as a predictable transformation and predictable results, because you reverse engineered all of the beliefs, habits, and behaviors that you need in order to achieve a certain result. So whether it's doubling or tripling your income, whether it's building a business, whether it's getting into the best shape of your life, whether it's your relationship, there are things that you can do that are predictable and that will guarantee a certain result.
That is awesome. So, all right, well, let's say that somebody is watching and they say, well, yeah, John, that sounds great. I'd love to double or triple my income. And, so what would be your advice? I mean, what would be a couple of things that person could start doing?
Sure. Well, the first thing to understand is the results that you're getting right now, whatever your results are because of what you've done or not done in the past, or what you've thought about or haven't thought about in the past. And so your results aren't good or bad. All they're doing is showing you something about the past. And so if you want to change your results in a week, in 3 weeks, in 6 weeks, in 6 months, what you've got to understand is that you've got to change what you're thinking about every day. So how do you change what you're thinking about every day? And then how do you change what you're doing every day? First and foremost, all of the brain research is showing us that when you set a vision or a goal for what you want to achieve, that's just a simple, easy part of the equation. Where most people screw up the process is they set a goal, but they really never look at it again. And what all of the research is suggesting is that when you take a goal and a vision for what you would like your life to be like, so, what kind of home do you want? What kind of car do you want? What kind of charitable contributions do you want to make? What would, having a totally fulfilled life look like and feel like every single day? When you take that new vision and you ask yourself several questions every day, what do I need to believe in order for that to be a reality? What does my self-talk need to be like? What beliefs do I need to have? What habits do I need to ingrain every single day so that I make the behaviors automatic? There's something in the neuroscience or brain research field called automaticity. And automaticity is simply the part of you that becomes automatic. And anything that we repeat on a day-to-day basis, whether it's self-talk, whether it's mental rehearsal, whether it's emotional responses, we develop electrical and chemical dependencies based on what we think about, emotionalize, and do every day. And so when you set a new vision for yourself and you look at it every day and you emotionalize it every day and you develop the strategies and you take small little behaviors towards that every day, over the course of a week, a month, 3 months, 6 months, you start to develop this automaticity in the brain, which basically does this. It looks for things in your physical world that match the new vision. It has you start thinking differently to match the new vision. It has you start doing the behaviors on a more consistent basis so it becomes a habit instead of something that you use willpower or perseverance or persistence for. And over a period of 30, 60, 90 days, you start to change the internal map on the inside, which then causes your brain to see things in your physical world you didn't see before. It causes you to want to take actions consistently that are more in line with what the new goal is versus your old habits and beliefs. Where most people fall short of the mark is they have these goals, these ideas, and these vision, but then they don't follow through with the repetition that's required to create a strong enough new map in your brain. If you think about what does a Hollywood actor or actress do when they're given a new script? Well, they don't own the script as soon as they get it. They have to read it. They have to reread it. They rehearse, the emotions. They find out about the character. They role play over and over and over again. And what most people don't realize is what they're actually doing is they are creating an internal neural network or map of that character that then they could turn on or off on demand. And that becomes a part of who they are. And so when you think about anybody who wins an Academy Award or an Oscar, right? They won that Oscar or Academy Award because they played a pretended role so well that us viewers believed it, that we voted for them. Well, when you want to double or triple your income, you want to believe it so deeply, you want to emotionalize it before the fact. And most people believe that, once they see it, then they'll believe it. And all of the neuroscience research says, no, believe it in here first. See it, own it in your mind first, and then take the actions necessary over a long enough period of time, then you will become it, then the results will show up. And so it's believe it first, emotionalize it first, then you will see the results. And as I always say, it's not enough to just see it and hear and feel it. You have to know what to do. So it's not enough to imagine 2 or 3 or 4 times more income, for example. You have to know, what do I need to do today? What are my highest income producing activities? What are my highest impact producing activities? And how do I take action consistently that are in line with what I want to achieve? And so in essence, you're transforming from the inside out, but you're also making sure that the environment that you're in is conducive to helping you achieve 2 or 3 times more income by doing the right things with the right people at the right time in the right order.
That is awesome, John. That's a beautiful description of it, and I hope everybody watches this part again and go over that, because what John just described is a brilliant roadmap that you can use as a guidebook to get started on your road. And I do want to say, and unfortunately, wow, I can't believe how fast our time went, but we're coming to the end of our time together, John. But before we go, I did want to let folks know you have an amazing program that's called Winning the Game of Life, and I wanted to let folks know about it and where they can go get it, because of course I give it my highest recommendation. So first of all, could you tell us a little about the program?
It's actually called Winning the Game of Money.
Winning the Game of Money, right.
The Game of Money, which helps you win the game of
life.
That's,
yes,
great.
Yeah.
Well, what I did is when I started to learn about the brain, I helped first and foremost my own employees in my company. And the average person in my company, I had 1,500 salespeople who went from an average income of $38,000 to $128,000 by retraining their brains. That's 1,500 people. We went from $1 billion to $4 billion in sales, over $4 billion in sales. And so what I took is, what are the beliefs that somebody who's making $100,000, $250,000, $500,000, $1 million a year, what are the beliefs that they have? And so we developed a program that really helps people through a use of technology get their brain into the most receptive state to be able to start to believe what they need to believe, to start to see themselves already earning the income. We took 8 different methodologies that are proven scientifically, evidence-based, to help people create the neural pathways in their brain. So we created a 9-level program where people put on a headphone, they download the program, and each week for 12 weeks, they listen to what I call is 30 minutes of inner size. So we created an inner size program to help people develop the beliefs, the habits, the mindset, the paradigms of somebody who's earning $250,000, $500,000, $1 million a year. So that's the technology and the methodologies in 9 different levels. The second part of the program is actually live mentoring and coaching, where myself and 2 of the top neuroscientists in the world work with our clients from all over the world every 2 weeks in a live setting where we're teaching them the latest in neuroscience to be able to learn how to master their emotions, learn how to master all of their mindset technologies and techniques to really be the captain of your own mindset shift. So we have a Mastering Your Mindset program that's part of that. And then we have a community of people that help each other with anything and everything that's needed in order to achieve the financial goals that they want to achieve. It's our Winning the Game of Money community. So it's 3 things. One is a technology and methodologies to change your neural pathways and your habits and your beliefs. Number 2, it's live mentoring every 2 weeks for 3 months with me, Joan, and Mark, who are 2 of the top neuroscientists in the world. And then number 3, it's a community of thousands of people who are helping each other with ways to make more money and helping them get from point A to point B. That's Winning the Game of Money program.
That's awesome. All right, well, I want to tell you guys all where you can get this, and I absolutely recommend you definitely go check it out. It's at noahstjohn.com/John. noahstjohn.com/John, John. So you got 2 Johns there, don't get confused. But that's John Assaraf on Noah St. John. So I think you'll remember. So noahstjohn.com/John, Winning the Game of Money. Definitely go check it out. Of course, it gets my highest recommendation. Anything from this man gets my highest recommendation. You just, everything that you do, John, is just first class all the way, as you are a first class gentleman yourself, of course.
Thank you,
I just want to thank you so much for taking your time and being there at your beautiful home there in San Diego, which I've had the privilege of visiting and hanging out with you guys, and it's just awesome. So any final thoughts for us, John, as we have to sign off?
Well, I think the final thoughts that I always like to have people think about is the reason that you and I have this desire to want more, to be more, to give more, is because it's inherent in our nature to want to grow and to become the fullest version of ourselves, to be as fulfilled as possible. And so the thoughts are that if you have the desire, then you also have the ability to achieve it. And I believe that nobody has just the desire without the ability to achieve it. You just need to be able to believe. You need to really create the environment for you to succeed. And then the most important part of all of it is you need to take consistent right actions. And when you do that, you can achieve all of your goals and dreams. And I know Noah St. John and I want to be a part of that.
That's awesome, John. Well said. I really appreciate that. That was very well said. Well, again, make sure you go check out Winning the Game of Money at noahstjohn.com/John. And anything John Assaraf does, make sure you go check it out. He's a great guy, as you can see, a brilliant man. And gosh, I could talk to you for hours and hours, John. I could talk to you all day. So, again, thanks so much for taking your time today and taking time out of your busy schedule. Really, really appreciate you, my friend.
All right. Have an amazing day, everyone.
All right. And until next time, this is Noah St. John reminding you to dream big. And until then, I look forward to being a part of your success story. See you next time, everybody. Bye-bye.